Right now, millions of people are stuck in cycles of fear, heartbreak, and failure. They think pain is punishment. But the real problem isn't the pain, it's the meaning we attach to it. Today, we're gonna solve that problem. We're gonna turn your pain into unstoppable power. You see, every single one of us has felt pain. Physical pain, emotional pain, the pain of failure, the pain of rejection, the pain of loss. It's the one thing we all share as human beings. And yet, for most people, pain becomes the prison that locks them away from the life they were meant to live. And they spend years avoiding it, numbing it, running from it, pretending it doesn't exist. But the truth is, pain was never designed to be your prison. It was designed to be your messenger. Pain is not here to destroy you, it's here to communicate something powerful to you. It's a signal, it's feedback, it's your body, your mind, your soul telling you, hey, something needs to change, something needs to grow, something needs to awaken. And if you ignore that message, if you suppress it, what happens? The pain only grows louder. It screams for your attention until you finally listen. Think about it. If you put your hand on a hot stove, that pain is not there to punish you. It's there to protect you. It's life's way of saying, move your hand, shift your action, change your behavior. Without pain, you'd keep your hand there and destroy yourself. Emotional pain works the same way. That heartbreak, that rejection, that failure you went through, it wasn't life being cruel to you. It was life giving you feedback saying, wake up, there's something more for you. There's something you must learn. There's something you must shift. But here's where people get trapped. Instead of listening to the messenger, they lock themselves in the prison of suffering. They repeat the story, why me? Why did this happen to me? Why is life so unfair? And the more they replay that story, the more the prison walls close in. But the shift happens the moment you realize pain is not against you, it's for you. It's not punishment. It's guidance. It's direction. Every time you've experienced pain in your life, it has pushed you to grow. Look back at the times you struggled the most. Those moments when you felt like you couldn't breathe, when your heart was shattered, when you thought you had nothing left. And yet, what happened after that? You discovered a strength you didn't know you had. You built resilience. You found a new direction. You became someone stronger, wiser, and more capable. The person you are today is not shaped by the easy moments. It's shaped by the pain you overcame. And I've seen this with people all over the world. I've worked with athletes, entrepreneurs, leaders, and everyday people who thought their pain was the end of them. They came to me in despair saying, Tony, I can't handle this anymore. This is too much. But when we shifted the meaning, when we saw pain for what it truly is, a messenger, they realized that what they thought was the end was actually the beginning. One man told me he lost everything. His business collapsed, his marriage ended, his friends turned their backs on him. He said, this pain has destroyed me. And I asked him, what if it hasn't destroyed you? What if it's trying to wake you up? What if this pain is not the end, but the messenger that's telling you there's a new chapter, a new strength, a new vision for your life? In that moment, he shifted. He stopped seeing himself as a victim and started seeing himself as a student. And within a year, he rebuilt not only his business, but his entire identity. Because pain was never his prison, it was his teacher. And maybe you're sitting there right now watching this, feeling your own pain. Maybe you're in the middle of heartbreak, maybe you're struggling financially, maybe you feel lost, maybe you feel like no one understands you. Listen to me closely, this pain is not the end of your story. This pain is not here to destroy you. It's here to wake you up. It's here to push you to a new level. It's here to guide you to a greater version of yourself, but only if you listen. Only if you stop running and start asking the right questions. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this trying to teach me? What must I change? What must I grow into? What must I let go of? When you ask those questions, pain transforms from a weight that drags you down into a force that lifts you higher. The truth is, growth never comes from comfort. No one grows when everything is easy. We grow when life shakes us, when life challenges us, when life says, you can't stay where you are, you must evolve. That's what pain is. It's the alarm clock that wakes you up from sleepwalking through life. It's the signal that says, there's more for you. You can't keep living like this. You have more potential, more strength, more resilience than you're showing. And here's the thing, you can either ignore that message and stay stuck, or you can embrace it and transform. Those are your two choices. If you numb the pain with distraction, with excuses, with unhealthy habits, you silence the messenger. But the message doesn't go away. It keeps coming back louder and louder until you listen. But if you lean in, if you open yourself up to it, if you embrace the discomfort and ask, what is this trying to make of me? That's when the breakthrough begins. I want you to think of the strongest people you admire. People who've achieved greatness, who've made an impact, who inspire you. Every single one of them has a story of pain. Every single one of them went through moments where they were tested, where they felt broken, where they questioned if they could go on. But instead of letting pain chain them down, they let it propel them forward. They understood the truth. Pain is the messenger of growth, not the prison of suffering. So today, I challenge you to rethink your pain. Stop running from it. Stop numbing it. Stop resenting it. Instead, ask yourself, what is this pain trying to tell me? What is this pain asking me to change? What is this pain trying to awaken in me? Because once you see pain as a messenger, you'll never fear it again. You'll embrace it. You'll learn from it. You'll use it to grow into the person you were destined to become. There are moments in life when two people go through the same situation, the same storm, the same pain, and yet they walk away with completely different lives. One person becomes bitter, broken, and resentful. The other becomes wiser, stronger, unstoppable. Why? It's not the pain itself. It's the meaning they gave it. It's the perspective they chose. See, pain by itself is not what defines you. It's the story you attach to it that shapes your destiny. One person loses their job and says, "This is the worst thing that has ever happened to me. I'm worthless. I'm nothing without that title, without that paycheck." Another person loses their job and says, "This is the opportunity I've been waiting for. Life just freed me to build something new, something better, something that truly excites me." Same event, two different stories, two different futures. Your perspective is the lens through which you experience your entire life. And if that lens is dirty, cracked, or foggy, everything you see feels distorted. But when you shift that perspective, when you choose a new meaning, suddenly the same pain that could have destroyed you becomes the very force that builds you. Think about it. How many times in your life have you go through something that felt like the end of the world? Maybe it was heartbreak. Maybe it was rejection. Maybe it was a failure. At that moment, you thought, "This is it. I can't recover from this. This is the worst thing that's ever happened to me." But then, months later, maybe years later, you look back and said, "Thank God that happened. That breakup led me to real love. That failure pushed me to discover my passion. That rejection protected me from the wrong path." What changed? The event didn't change. The memory didn't change. What changed was your perspective. Life isn't happening to you, it's happening for you. But you can't see that truth until you shift the lens you're looking through. Every struggle you've faced has two possible meanings. It can be your reason to quit, or it can be your reason to fight harder. It can be the excuse you give for why your life never worked out, or it can be the reason you rise up and create a life beyond what you imagine. The choice is yours. I once worked with a woman who had gone through incredible trauma. She sat across from me and said, "Tony, my life is ruined. What I went through stole everything from me. My childhood, my innocence, my happiness. I'll never be the same again." And I looked at her and I said, "You're right. You'll never be the same again. But that doesn't have to mean you're broken forever. It could mean you're stronger than anyone else who's never gone through what you've gone through. It could mean you now have the ability to help others who are suffering, to bring healing, to create meaning where there was only pain." And I watched her perspective shift. Tears filled her eyes as she realized that the very thing she thought had ruined her could become the foundation of her power. That's what perspective does. It takes the same set of facts, the same painful story, and turns it into fuel instead of poison. But you have to decide what lens you're going to use. And let me be clear, it's not about pretending the pain isn't real. It's not about denying that bad things happen. It's not about fake positivity, it's about ownership. It's about saying, "This happened, yes, I can't control that, but I can control the meaning I give it. I can control how I use it. I can control what I build from it." Because meaning creates emotion, and emotion drives action, and action builds destiny. If you tell yourself the meaning of your pain is that life is unfair, that you're cursed, that you'll never be enough, then your emotions will reflect that story. You'll feel hopeless, defeated, powerless. And in that emotional state, what kind of actions will you take? Probably none. You'll give up, you'll shrink, you'll settle, and then your destiny becomes one of suffering. But if you tell yourself the meaning of your pain is that you've been chosen to grow, that life is training you, that you are being sculpted into someone greater than you were before, then your emotions shift. You feel determination, hunger, and strength. And in that state, your actions change. You start pushing harder, learning more, refusing to settle, and your destiny becomes one of empowerment. The power has always been in your perspective. That's why two people can walk through the same fire. One walks out burned and broken. The other walks out refined like gold. The fire didn't choose for them. They chose the meaning. So let me ask you, what meaning have you been giving to your pain? Have you been telling yourself the story that you're unlucky, unworthy, doomed? Or can you shift that story and say, this happened for a reason. This is not the end of me. This is preparing me, strengthening me, shaping me into who I must become. The moment you shift your perspective, you shift your life. I'll give you an example. Years ago, a man told me he grew up in a household filled with addiction and abuse. He said, Tony, because of that, my life has been nothing but struggle. And then another man told me the same story. He too grew up in a household filled with addiction and abuse. But he said, because of that, I swore I would never repeat the cycle. I became disciplined. I became committed to building a different kind of family. I became successful because I refused to live the way I was raised. Same background, same pain, two completely different futures, all because of perspective. Perspective is the paintbrush of your life. You can use it to color your world in shades of despair and hopelessness, or you can use it to paint a vision of strength and possibility. The facts of your past cannot change, but the meaning you attach to them can transform everything about your present and your future. And let me tell you something, the most powerful people you know, the leaders, the visionaries, the ones who inspire millions, they didn't have perfect lives. They weren't spared from pain. What they had was the ability to shift their perspective. They looked at pain and instead of saying, this broke me, they said, this built me. They looked at rejection and instead of saying, this means I'm not enough, they said, this means I'm being redirected to something greater. They looked at failure and instead of saying, this means I can't succeed, they said, this means I'm one step closer to success. When you adopt that kind of perspective, nothing can stop you. And obstacles become opportunities, struggles become stepping stones, pain becomes power, and you realize life has never been against you, it's always been preparing you for more. Every single person watching this right now has something inside of them that can change their life forever. But the problem is most people never tap into it. They bury it, they run from it, they hide it because it doesn't feel comfortable. I'm talking about your pain. The truth is, the very thing you've been trying to avoid, the very thing you've been running from is the fuel that can ignite your transformation. Look back at history. Every great leader, every world champion, every person who made an impact in this world started with struggle. Their story didn't begin with comfort. It didn't begin with privilege. It began with pain. But instead of letting that pain consume them, they used it as energy. They turned their suffering into strength, their wounds into wisdom, their setbacks into stepping stones. That's the difference between those who rise and those who stay stuck. Because here's the truth, pain creates energy. When you feel pain, you feel it in your body, in your emotions, in your mind. It's powerful. That energy can either destroy you or it can drive you. And the choice is yours. You can channel it into excuses, into self-pity, into destructive habits, or you can channel it into hunger, into drive, into relentless determination. Think about the greatest athletes in the world. Do you think they got there because life was easy for them? No, they got there because they faced rejection, they faced failure, they faced critics who said, you're not good enough, and instead of letting that pain crush them, they used it as motivation. Every insult, every loss, every setback became fuel. They said, I'll show you. I'll prove you wrong. I'll turn this pain into my power. That's why they became champions. And it's not just athletes. Look at entrepreneurs, leaders, creators. They didn't rise because they never fell. They rose because every time they fell, they took the pain of failure and turned it into fuel to try again, smarter, stronger, wiser. There's a fire inside you, but most people never ignite it because they fear pain. They think pain means stop, but pain can mean go. Pain can mean push in. Pain can mean this is the moment where I rise. When you're willing to sit with the pain, when you're willing to use it instead of running from it, you access an energy source that most people never discover. Let me tell you something, comfort never built anyone. Comfort never made someone unstoppable. Comfort never created greatness, but pain has built warriors. Pain has forged leaders. Pain has created legacies because pain forces you to dig deeper, to push harder, to find strength you didn't know you had. I remember working with a young man who grew up in a neighborhood filled with violence and poverty. He told me, Tony, I hate my past, and I hate the pain it gave me. I just want to forget it. And I said to him, no, don't forget it. Don't erase it. Use it. That pain is the very thing that can drive you to never settle, to never accept less than you deserve, to build something better not just for yourself, but for everyone who comes after you. And when he embraced that, when he used that pain as fuel, he built a business, he became a mentor, he broke the cycle for his family. His pain became his power, and maybe right now you're carrying pain. Maybe it's the pain of betrayal. Maybe it's the pain of failure. Maybe it's the pain of not feeling enough, and it hurts. It cuts deep. But I'm here to tell you that pain is not the end. That pain is the beginning if you choose to use it. Ask yourself, how can this pain drive me? How can I take this anger, this sadness, this frustration, and channel it into action? How can I let this be the reason I wake up earlier, push harder, demand more from myself? Because if you don't use it, it will use you. Pain will either break you or make you. It will either drain your energy or fuel your greatness. The most successful people in the world didn't avoid pain. They leveraged it. They turned heartbreak into art. They turned rejection into innovation. They turned failure into resilience. They said, I'm not going to let this destroy me. I'm going to let it drive me. That's the decision that changes everything. Think about Thomas Edison. How many times did he fail before he created the light bulb? Thousands of times. But every failure, every painful experiment that didn't work fueled his determination. He said, I didn't fail. I found another way that doesn't work. That pain gave him clarity, focus, and hunger. Without it, there would be no invention. Or think about someone like Oprah Winfrey. Her story wasn't easy. She faced abuse, rejection, and poverty. She could have let that pain define her, destroy her. But instead, she turned it into a mission. She used it to fuel her hunger, to create impact, to build a platform that inspires millions. The pain became the fuel. The question is, what about you? What pain are you sitting on right now that you're letting weigh you down? When in reality, it could be the fire that lifts you up. What heartbreak could become the reason you never settle for less than real love? What failure could become the reason you finally succeed? What rejection could become the reason you create something extraordinary? The energy of pain is neutral, it's power. But you decide where it flows. You can flow it into destruction or into creation. You can use it to tear yourself apart or to build yourself up. You can let it chain you down, or you can let it rocket you forward. And let me tell you something, you're stronger than you think. You've survived every painful day up until now. You're still here. That means you've got resilience, you've got strength, you've got untapped power. The pain you've carried doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're human. And when you decide to use it, when you decide to fuel your passion, your discipline, your hunger with it, you become unstoppable. Most people let pain put them to sleep. They escape into distractions, into habits that numb them, into excuses that comfort them. But the ones who rise, the ones who lead, the ones who inspire, they let pain wake them up. They let it light a fire so strong that nothing can put it out. So the next time you feel pain, don't ask, why me? Ask, how can I use this? Don't run from it, don't numb it, sit with it, embrace it, and then turn it into action. Turn it into growth, turn it into fuel. Every breakthrough in human history, every revolution of the spirit, every leap in personal transformation, it all begins in the same place, pain. Pain is the birthplace of change. Pain is the spark that ignites the fire of transformation. And yet, most people spend their lives running from it, terrified of it, believing that pain is the enemy. But if you look back at your own life honestly, you'll see that your greatest breakthroughs didn't come when life was easy. They came when you were pushed to the edge, when you had no choice but to rise, when the pain of staying the same became greater than the pain of change. Think about it. How many times have you tolerated something in your life because it wasn't painful enough to force you to move? Maybe it was a toxic relationship. Maybe it was a job that drained you. Maybe it was a dream you kept postponing. You stayed because it was familiar, because it was comfortable, because it wasn't unbearable yet. But then one day, the pain reached a breaking point. One day you woke up and said, hey, no, I can't live like this anymore. I must change. And in that moment, a breakthrough was born. That's the paradox of life. Comfort feels safe, but it keeps you stuck. Pain feels unbearable, but it sets you free. A breakthrough never comes when everything is fine. Breakthrough comes when the weight of your current reality crushes you so deeply that you refuse to accept it any longer. Pain forces you to demand more of yourself. Pain pushes you to reach for more, to dig deeper, to unlock power you didn't even know you had. I've worked with people who were struggling with addiction, people who were destroying themselves, people who said, I know I should change, but I can't. And you know when they finally did? When the pain became too great, when they lost a relationship, when they lost a job, when they hit rock bottom. In that moment, the pain became so intense that it shattered the illusion of comfort. And from that rock bottom, they found a strength they never had before. They built a life beyond what they thought was possible, not because they wanted to, but because they had to. Pain forced the breakthrough. And maybe you've had moments like this in your life, moments where you didn't think you could take another step, Moments where the weight of your circumstances felt unbearable. And then something inside of you snapped, not in defeat but in awakening. That pain became the turning point. That pain became the moment you stopped tolerating the life you had and demanded the life you deserved. Breakthrough is not born from ease. A breakthrough is born from the moments when you decide you will not settle anymore. It's born when you finally say, I'm done living small. I'm done living afraid. I'm done letting this pain define me. From this moment forward, I rise. Look at the stories of the people who have changed the world. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison. Do you think that was easy? Do you think he didn't feel pain, isolation, despair? But it was in that pain that his resolve was forged. It was in that suffering that his vision for freedom grew unshakable. His breakthrough, his leadership, his impact was born in pain. Or think of someone like Malala Yousafzai, a young girl who was shot for daring to seek an education. The pain she endured could have silenced her forever, but instead that pain became her platform. That pain gave birth to a movement. Her breakthrough, her global voice was born in pain. Everywhere you look, the pattern is the same. Pain cracks the shell of who we were, so the new version of us can emerge. Without the crack, without the breaking, there's no breakthrough. And I know in your life right now, there are places where you feel pain. Maybe it's the pain of disappointment, the pain of betrayal, the pain of feeling stuck. You might even think it's unfair that life has been cruel to you. But what if this pain is not here to punish you? What if it's here to prepare you? What if this pain is the doorway to your breakthrough? Because pain is not random. Pain points to the areas of your life that demand transformation. If you feel the pain of loneliness, it's pointing you toward deeper connection, toward self-love, toward building relationships that truly matter. If you feel the pain of financial struggle, it's pointing you toward growth, toward new skills, toward new opportunities. If you feel the pain of failure, it's pointing you toward resilience, toward learning, toward mastering the path to success. Pain shows you where the breakthrough is waiting to be born. But you have to stop numbing it. You have to stop running from it. Most people live their lives trying to avoid pain at all costs. They distract themselves with entertainment, with substances, with business. But when you avoid pain, you also avoid breakthrough, because the very thing you're running from is the doorway to your transformation. When you're willing to face your pain, to sit with it, and to feel it fully, you gain access to a power that comfort could never give you. That's when you hear the truth inside you. That's when you discover what you're really made of. That's when you stop settling for mediocrity and start demanding greatness. There's a saying I've shared for years. Change happens when the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change. That's the tipping point. That's the moment when people stop talking about what they want and start doing whatever it takes. That's the moment when people stop wishing for a different life and start creating it. And I promise you this, your breakthrough is waiting on the other side of your pain. The same way a seed has to crack open to grow into a tree, you have to let the pain crack you open. It may feel like breaking, but it's actually birthing. It may feel like an ending, but it's actually the beginning. The truth is, life will never spare you from pain. You will face it again and again. But the difference between people who live small and people who live extraordinary is that the extraordinary ones use their pain to birth breakthroughs. They don't see pain as the end. They see it as the beginning of something new, something stronger, something more powerful than what came before. And right now, as you hear my voice, maybe life is pressing on you. Maybe you feel the weight of something that seems unbearable. Maybe you've been praying for relief, for it to go away. But what if instead of praying for it to end, you asked for the strength to use it? What if instead of waiting for the pain to disappear, you decided to let it transform you? Because that's where your breakthrough lies. So here's the truth. You've been given pain, but not as a punishment. Pain is the messenger that wakes you up. Pain is the shift in perspective that teaches you there's another way to see your life. Pain is the fuel that can drive you beyond anything you thought possible. And pain is the birthplace of your greatest breakthroughs. Every struggle you've endured, every heartbreak you've carried, every failure you've faced, it wasn't random. It wasn't meaningless. It was shaping you. It was preparing you. It was chiseling away at the old version of you so the new one could emerge. Because the life you dream of, the life you deserve, doesn't come from comfort. It comes from courage. It comes from growth. It comes from turning pain into power. The question now is not whether you will feel pain. You will. The question is, what will you do with it? Will you let it imprison you, or will you let it free you? Will you let it weaken you, or will you let it fuel you? Will you let it break you, or will you use it to break through? This is your moment. This is your turning point. Don't run from pain anymore, embrace it. Don't numb it. listen to it, don't curse it, thank it. Because if you're willing to lean into it, if you're willing to harness it, if you're willing to turn that pain into power, then nothing in this world can stop you. So stand up. Decide today that your pain will no longer define you, it will refine you. Decide today that your struggle will no longer break you, it will make you. Decide today that no matter what life throws your way, you will use it as fuel to rise higher, to push harder, to live fully. Because this is not the end of your story, this is the beginning, and your power starts the moment you choose to turn your pain into purpose, your struggles into strength, and your pain into unstoppable power.